12 most mysterious ancient tombs in history that even the world's top scientists still can't explain. Hello, and welcome back to the Ancient History channel. My friend, have you ever wondered if there are ancient tombs that, no matter how advanced modern science becomes, humanity still cannot fully uncover the secrets hidden within them? It may sound hard to believe, but all around the world there are still resting places of the ancient dead that, every time they are excavated, leave scientists completely stunned by how many things simply don't make sense. From tombs containing bodies that have not decomposed after hundreds or even thousands of years, to burial sites constructed with techniques far beyond the understanding of their time, all of them seem to challenge the limits of human knowledge today. There are places where just stepping inside is enough to send chills down your spine, as strange and unexplainable phenomena continue to occur. What's even more astonishing is that the more researchers study these sites, the more puzzling details they uncover. Mysterious symbols, enigmatic structures, and even curses passed down through generations. All of these elements come together to form a dark yet irresistibly fascinating picture. So, in today's video, we're going to explore 12 of the most mysterious ancient tombs in history. Places that, even to this day, the world's top scientists have not been able to fully explain. Are you ready to explore with me? If so, let's dive into the very first tomb right now. The most terrifying imperial tomb in China and its deadly curse. When it comes to famous archaeological stories in China, most people immediately think of spectacular discoveries like the tomb of Qin Shi Huang or the Terracotta Army. But if you believe it's all just dust and priceless treasures, then the story of Dingling, the resting place of the Wanli Emperor, will send a chill down your spine. This is not simply an imperial tomb filled with valuable artifacts like many others. It is considered one of the most dangerous and haunting tombs ever discovered by Chinese archaeologists. It all began in 1955, when an archaeological team led by Guo Moruo set out to open Dingling. They were young, passionate, but inexperienced, and none of them could have imagined that this excavation would become a terrifying ordeal, the kind that might make your hair stand on end. For those unfamiliar, Dingling, also known as the Ming Dingling Mausoleum, had existed for over 300 years. It is the burial site of the Wanli Emperor, who reportedly spent 6 years and more than 8 million taels of gold to construct it. Compared to other Ming imperial tombs, its scale is not the largest, but everything inside was arranged with extraordinary precision, causing no small amount of difficulty for the excavation team. It took them more than a year and a half just to locate the entrance to the underground palace. But even then, the entrance was blocked by a massive wall, about 29 feet high and over 5 feet thick. And before they could even catch their breath, they were confronted with eerie rumors from local villagers. Stories of a river flowing inside the tomb, of having to cross a bottomless abyss by boat to reach the emperor's coffin, surrounded by countless sharp blades, and that only someone born on the same date as the emperor would be allowed to enter. Do you believe that? The archaeologists certainly didn't, but even they couldn't help feeling a chill run down their spines after hearing such tales. Despite everything, Guo Moruo's team pressed on, ignoring superstition and carefully proceeding step by step. After months of relentless effort, they finally reached the main burial chamber, the room where the emperor's coffin rested. At the center stood 3 striking red coffins. The one in the middle belonged to the Wanli Emperor, while the 2 on either side were for his empresses. When they opened the coffins, their eyes lit up at the sight of countless rare treasures, most notably a dragon crown adorned with more than 120 gemstones, 5,000 pearls, and crafted entirely with gold thread. Just imagining it is dazzling, isn't it? But that excitement was quickly overshadowed by a series of strange tragedies. Due to the limited preservation techniques of the time, many artifacts were damaged, and the emperor's wooden coffin was left abandoned near a mountain ravine. Later, 7 villagers, upon hearing about it, took pieces of the precious wood for themselves. Unbeknownst to them, these pieces seemed to carry a curse. One person who used the wood to build a coffin died. Another who placed it on an altar saw misfortune befall their children. Even more chilling, tragedy began to strike those directly involved in the excavation. Guo Moruo's wife took her own life, and his 2 sons also died. Then, Zheng Zhenduo, the excavation commander, perished in a plane crash. Wu Han, the key advocate for the excavation, later committed suicide. Finally, The photographer who opened the coffin lid was said to have hanged himself. It was as if the moment the underground palace was opened, the curse of the Wanli emperor had been unleashed. From that point on, the excavation of imperial tombs in China became an unspoken taboo. No one dared to open them recklessly again. The treasures may be of immense value, but the fear and haunting legacy left behind by Dingling are beyond any price. So if one day you hear someone say, "Why not open ancient tombs? There must be gold inside," remember the story of Dingling. Because this place is not just a treasure trove, it is a reminder that sometimes human curiosity can awaken something far more terrifying: a deadly curse. The 3,000-year-old tomb of the priest of Pacoati, Peru. Have you ever imagined that, in the dry highlands of northern Peru, there exists a tomb that, at first glance, would leave you both in awe and shrugging in fascination at its incredibly intriguing mysteries? Recently, archaeologists uncovered such a tomb, dating back about 3,000 years. What truly astonished them wasn't its age, but the unique burial style of the individual laid to rest there. The remains were named the priest of Pacoati, after the highland region where the tomb was discovered. And from the very first layer, it was clear, this was no ordinary person. He was buried beneath 6 layers of ash mixed with dark soil, surrounded by finely decorated ceramic bowls. His body also bore ritualistic stamps featuring ancient symbolic patterns. In other words, by today's standards, you could call him an ancient VIP, honored with burial rites reserved only for the elite of society. But what made archaeologists both intrigued and puzzled were 2 special seals placed along the upper edge of the tomb. One seal depicted a human face facing east, while the other showed a jaguar facing west. Could it be that the ancients were trying to say, "Face east to awaken, face west to feast"? Of course, that's just a joke, but the arrangement was certainly not random. It likely carried deep ritualistic or spiritual meaning that may take years for us to fully understand. Archaeologist Yuji Seki, who led the project, noted that the tomb itself had unusually distinctive dimensions, about 6.5 feet in diameter and roughly 3.3 feet deep. But even more striking was the burial position, which left experts scratching their heads. The body was placed face down, with the feet crossed, an extremely rare posture, unlike most other burials in the region. It almost feels as if the priest of Pacoati wanted to ensure, "I'll rest here comfortably, but still maintain my authority." The most fascinating detail, however, was a tupu, a large pin traditionally used to fasten cloaks in Andean culture. Typically, tupu were accessories worn by women, yet the individual in this tomb was male. This suggests he wasn't just an ancient VIP, but perhaps also a kind of fashion icon of his time, boldly defying social norms of dress and power. Honestly, if he were alive today, he might be someone who stays thousands of years ahead of the trends. Looking at the tomb as a whole, from the 6 layers of ash and ceramic vessels to the symbolic seals and the tupu, it tells a compelling story of power, belief, and even ancient fashion. This is not merely a burial site, but a living museum, where every detail opens up new mysteries and makes us wonder, who was this priest really? And what was he thinking when he chose every element of his burial ritual? So what do you think? If the priest of Pacoati lived in the 21st century, would he be a powerful religious leader or a style influencer with millions of followers? The answer may still lie buried beneath those layers of ash, but one thing is certain. This tomb will leave anyone interested in history, culture, or ancient fashion absolutely amazed. Xiongnu noble tomb that has hidden a shocking secret for over 2 millennia. If one day someone told you that, in the vast Mongolian steppes, where only the howling wind and echoes of ancient horse hooves remain, there exists a tomb that has preserved its secrets for more than 2,000 years. Would you believe it? It sounds like something out of a movie, but in reality, archaeologists have uncovered exactly such a time portal. And what left everyone quietly stunned, while still trying to maintain their professional composure, were 2 extraordinarily unusual silver dragons lying deep inside the tomb. The story begins in northern Mongolia, a region once known as the homeland of the Xiongnu, a nomadic people famous for being both fierce warriors and deeply mysterious. When a joint Chinese-Mongolian archaeological team began excavating the site, they expected to find only a few pottery fragments or minor artifacts. Instead, they uncovered a noble tomb dating back to around 25 AD, so ancient that if it could speak, it might have retired long ago. What made it even more surprising was that upon opening the tomb, the team felt as though they had stepped into a fully stocked ancient general store. There were jade belt hooks, finely crafted jewelry, wooden cups, horse bridles, even a chariot and various weapons. Just from these items alone, it was clear that the tomb's owner was no ordinary person, but a wealthy noble who carried his entire fortune, even into the afterlife, to display his status. But do you know what stood out the most? While the team was busy cataloging and classifying the artifacts, they noticed two gleaming objects resting quietly in a corner of the tomb. As they brushed away the dust of time, what emerged were two silver dragon statues, gilded with gold and shining as if they had been polished just yesterday. At that moment, even the most composed archaeologists couldn't help but gasp in amazement. In East Asian culture, dragons are the ultimate symbol of power. And to possess two silver dragons crafted with such intricate detail, from the horns and eyes to the teeth and feather-like features, the owner must not only have been wealthy, but also held an exceptionally high status. You see, the Xiongnu were nomadic people, known for horseback riding and archery. Many assume they did not place much importance on refined artistic objects like these, yet these two dragons prove the opposite. This was a culture that was not only powerful on the battlefield, but also possessed remarkable aesthetic sensibility and advanced metalworking skills. In fact, archaeologists suggest that these dragon statues may be key evidence of the Xiongnu's extensive cultural exchanges with neighboring civilizations. They may have interacted with Chinese culture, or even absorbed artistic influences from more distant regions. Every carved detail seems to whisper, "We were not only feared warriors, we were artists as well." And so, from what began as a routine excavation, the team uncovered an entire story, one of history, culture, and the creative brilliance of a people who once shook the steppes. Truly fascinating, isn't it? 3,000-year-old burial mound in northern Serbia containing powerful remains. Did you know that some archaeological discoveries are so striking, just hearing about them can give you goosebumps? The story of unusually tall skeletons coated in a deep red pigment found in ancient burial mounds in northern Serbia is definitely one of them. The story began when scientists set out to excavate two burial mounds dating back nearly 3,000 years in this region. What they didn't expect was that they were about to uncover a mystery, both strange and imbued with a sense of sacredness that's hard to describe. These two mounds were studied by a team of researchers from the Institute of Archaeology and Ethnology of the Polish Academy of Sciences, known as IAEPAN. From the very first glance, they stood out compared to other nearby mounds. Each mound measured up to about 130 feet in diameter and stood roughly 10 to 13 feet tall, constructed using wood, an indication of the significant effort invested and the high status of those buried within. As researchers explored deeper into the internal structure, they discovered that each mound contained a fairly extensive burial chamber system. Multiple bodies were interred there, with the earliest remains dating back around 2,900 to 3,000 years ago. Notably, about 100 to 200 years later, the site was reused for another phase of burials, suggesting that these mounds held special significance across generations. At first glance, the number of grave goods was not as abundant as one might expect from elite burials. But don't be too quick to underestimate them. The sheer scale of the mounds, their location, and the method of construction all strongly indicate that those buried here belong to a high-ranking aristocratic class with considerable power and influence in the region. However, what truly stunned the research team lay in the skeletons themselves. Some male remains in the two mounds were unusually large in size and, most strikingly, covered in a red pigment. Analysis revealed that this color was not natural but came from ochre, a substance that had been sprinkled or applied to the bodies after death. According to Dr. Piotr Włodarczak of IAEPAN, as far back as 5,000 years ago, red ochre was regarded by many communities as a symbol of power, sacredness, and a connection to the spiritual world. Applying it to the deceased was not just a standard burial practice, but a special honor reserved for individuals of exceptional status. But that's not all. The height of these men was truly astonishing. They were all over 5 feet 11 inches tall, while the average local male in Serbia at that time stood at only about 5 feet 3 inches. In the context of thousands of years ago, this difference would have made them seem like giants compared to the surrounding population. It is precisely this combination of ochre burial rituals and exceptional physical stature that has led to a fascinating hypothesis. The individuals buried in these two mounds may have been migrants. Experts suggest that the use of ochre was more commonly associated with communities from the Eastern European steppes, rather than the local Serbian population of that era. So who were they really? Powerful leaders from distant lands, steppe warriors, or an elite class that brought with them their own beliefs and rituals? The answer likely still lies buried deep underground, waiting for further excavations and research. But one thing is certain, these red giants have left a powerful mark, forcing us to reconsider ancient European history from an entirely new perspective. What do you think? Do you have a different theory? Let me know in the comments below. Ancient tomb, containing a fragrant coffin that astonished experts. At a construction site in Dangshan County, Anhui Province, China, an excavator operator accidentally uncovered an unusually large ancient tomb buried about 13 feet underground. The site supervisor immediately halted construction and reported the discovery to local authorities. Soon after, an archaeological team was dispatched. They sealed off the entire area and began excavating the mysterious tomb. Beneath the layers of soil, experts discovered two coffins, labeled Coffin Number 1 and Coffin Number 2. Coffin Number 1 was relatively simple, containing very few burial items, and the body inside had long since decomposed. However, Coffin Number 2 was far more remarkable. It was sealed beneath a thick layer of dense yellow clay about 12 inches thick, making it extremely difficult to open. This coffin featured a double outer casing. The outer shell, coated in a bronze-colored lacquer, was crafted from cypress wood resistant to decay and termites, and the layers were separated by a 16-inch thick layer of lime. Inside was a deep red inner coffin made from nanmu wood, a tree species native to China. The coffin measured approximately 95 inches long, 28 inches wide, and 30 inches tall. What shocked everyone was that when the coffin was opened, a distinct fragrance spread into the surrounding air. Even more astonishing, inside lay the well-preserved body of a woman dressed in Qing dynasty attire, as if she had been buried only recently. The woman had black hair tied neatly in a bun. Her muscles remained full and flexible, and even her joints could still move. Such a perfectly preserved body is extremely rare in the history of Chinese archaeology. Data from Kalishi indicates that the mummy was about 5 feet 5 inches tall and weighed around 97 pounds. She had a slender figure, an oval-shaped face, bound feet known as 3-inch golden lotuses, and red-painted fingernails and toenails. Experts believe she was around 30 years old at the time of her burial and must have been an exceptionally beautiful woman of the Qing dynasty. However, upon closer inspection, a deep T-shaped cut was found on her neck, likely caused by a sword. This was the only wound on her body, suggesting that she did not resist when the fatal strike occurred. It is possible that she had committed a serious crime and was executed. This wound was identified as the cause of death and serves as a key piece of evidence in uncovering the true identity of the tomb's occupant. The burial goods interred with this Qing dynasty beauty were extremely rich, including gold and silver jewelry, gemstone bead necklaces, and even coins from the reign of the Kangxi emperor. However, no inscription or epitaph was found in the tomb, making it very difficult for experts to determine exactly who she was. As a result, to this day, her identity and the full story behind this tomb remains an unsolved mystery. Ancient Siberian King's Tomb, containing the remains of a mysterious woman and an enormous treasure of gold. In the so-called Valley of the Kings, not in Egypt as we often hear, but in the Valley of the Kings of the ancient Scythians, deep within Siberian territory, archaeologists have recently discovered the tomb of a Scythian king. The tomb was constructed with remarkable sophistication and contained a vast array of valuable artifacts, including gold, silver, and intricate jewelry. Yet what astonished scientists the most was the presence of a young woman buried alongside the king. This woman was not only laid to rest beside the king's remains, but she was also surrounded by an abundance of gold and jewelry, clear signs that she was no ordinary individual. Her burial position and the high-quality grave goods strongly suggest that she held a very high status. possibly the king's primary wife or his most favored consort. However, the mystery lies in one unsettling detail. No one knows how she died. While analysis of the king's remains indicates that he died of prostate cancer, a natural cause of death in ancient times, the woman's body shows no clear signs pointing to a cause of death. There is no evidence of violence or disease. It appears to have been a sudden and unexplained death. Archaeologists suspect that she may have been poisoned as part of an ancient funerary ritual intended to allow her to accompany the king into the afterlife. This theory becomes even more chilling with the discovery of 35 additional sets of human remains within the tomb complex, believed to be members of the king's retinue. Among them were men, women, children, and even 14 horses, forming a procession that resembles a royal court. These findings closely align with the accounts of the ancient Greek historian Herodotus, who described Scythian burial customs in which, upon a king's death, loyal attendants, including family members, servants, and horses, were sacrificed to follow their ruler into the next world. Did the young woman know her fate beforehand? Or was she an unwilling victim of a brutal ritual practiced by a culture that once dominated the vast Asian steppes? That question remains unanswered. But with each layer of earth removed and every artifact uncovered, we move closer to the truth, even if that truth sometimes sends a chill down our spine. The ancient tomb with a terrifying curse. Tablet. Have you ever imagined that beneath the ground of an old hospital in the heart of France, there could lie a mysterious cemetery dating back to Roman times? And within that quiet soil, there exist cursed tablets, thin lead charms inscribed in a language that has completely vanished from the world? What I'm talking about is one of the most extraordinary archaeological discoveries of the year, where thousands of years of history suddenly come alive right beneath a structure that seemed entirely unrelated, an 18th century hospital in Orléans, about 75 miles southwest of Paris. During renovations of the historic hospital, archaeologists unexpectedly unearthed more than 60 graves aligned along an ancient wall. The coffins were painted wooden boxes, many still faintly retaining their original colors with no signs of cremation. This suggested to experts that this was no ordinary cemetery. According to the Orléans Archaeological Service, the team in charge of the excavation, the individuals buried here may have belonged to a specific social group, such as people of the same occupation or a particular social class. But the strangest discovery came from within 21 of these graves. 21 curse tablets, also known as deficciones. These were thin lead sheets, roughly the size of a human palm, engraved with inscriptions, rolled up, pierced with nails, and buried with the dead. Yet these tablets were far more than simple grave goods. In the ancient Roman world, they were used to communicate with the gods, to call down punishment on enemies, or to grant favors to the owner. Each tablet carried a curse, a hope, or a grievance sent to the world beyond. One particularly notable grave belonged to a man buried with a curse tablet placed between his legs, accompanied by a broken vase and several coins, a ritual likely intended to guide the soul to the afterlife. Once recovered, the tablet was sent to a conservation lab, where experts used reflective transformation imaging, a modern technique that produces clear images from eroded surfaces. And then the miracle happened. The researchers discovered that the inscriptions were written in Gaulish, a branch of the Celtic language that has completely died out. In fact, after the Roman conquest, Gaulish was still spoken locally but rarely written, making every remaining line a priceless linguistic treasure for modern scholars. Imagine, a person living 2,000 years ago in despair inscribed their final words in a fading native language on a fragile lead sheet and buried it with their death, as a message to the gods, or perhaps as a warning to future generations. This discovery not only provides crucial insight into the Gaulish language, but also offers a new perspective on the spiritual and religious life of the local population under Roman rule. They were not entirely assimilated. Quietly, they preserved their identity and language through these secretive rituals. The Orléans excavation is expected to conclude by the end of the month. All artifacts, from the cursed tablets and coins to fragments of pottery and coffin dust, will undergo thorough laboratory analysis. Scientists hope these studies will uncover even more secrets about the cursed individuals and reveal the deeper story buried beneath the silent earth, a cemetery hidden for millennia, curses written in a vanished language. Secrets long buried are now slowly being revealed. Have we truly understood the past, Or have we only glimpsed the tip of the iceberg? That remains a challenging question, one that archaeologists continue to explore with hope for even more breakthroughs in the future. The most unusual Grand Eunuch tomb in China. Have you ever imagined what the life and death might have been like for someone who silently wielded power in the Forbidden City, a grand palace of China spanning 4 reigns of the Qing dynasty? Surely you're curious. The story I'm about to share is about Li Lianying, a eunuch deeply favored by Empress Dowager Cixi, who held an extraordinary position within the imperial court. Yet, the details of his life and death remain shrouded in an unresolved mystery. It all began in the summer of 1966 in the Haidian district of Beijing, China, when a group of people accidentally discovered an unusually large tomb covering approximately 20 acres. This was the tomb of Li Lianying, the Grand Eunuch who once controlled significant influence within the imperial harem. Notably, the tomb was built on a foundation of tom soil, a dense earth layer reserved exclusively for royal mausoleums, highlighting Li Lianying's remarkable status. Inside the tomb, archaeologists were immediately struck by its grandeur. The main chamber featured pristine white marble floors, a symbol of luxury and refinement. At the center stood a striking purple-red coffin on a jade pedestal, adorned with intricate jewelry and bronze coins engraved with the name Li. Every detail reflected the prestige of a man who had lived amid golden halls and wielded immense influence. However, the astonishing and perplexing discovery came when the coffin was opened. Instead of an intact body, the archaeologists found only a mass of soft mud. This immediately raised a critical question. Why would a man of such power and favor have no remains in his coffin? The event sparked numerous hypotheses among historians and archaeologists, each attempting to solve the mystery of his death. Li Lianying had supported Empress Dowager Cixi in her tense power struggle against Emperor Guangxu, yet he was never directly involved in court conspiracies or political intrigues. Therefore, if he were purged, it would have served no clear advantage to any faction and could not have been justified legally. Among the theories, the controversial historian Nan Ngi Dan suggested that Zhang Chaozong, another influential figure at court, invited Li to a meal and secretly ordered his assassination in the Hohai area of Beijing. This hypothesis was quickly dismissed, as Zhang had no clear motive, the location was far from the crime scene, and no major conflict between the two men had been recorded. Other experts proposed that Li Lianying might have been killed during a debt collection trip to Shandong. Yet, this seems unlikely. Given his wealth and status, he would have had no reason to personally collect debts. Supporters of this theory speculate he may have encountered danger immediately after visiting his granddaughter, also in Shandong. So, what really happened? Li Lianying's death remains a mystery. Every theory contains gaps, lacking concrete evidence for confirmation. The secrets of this vast tomb of a powerful Grand Eunuch lie quietly beneath the compact tam soil, waiting for future exploration. Have you ever wondered how the intricate webs of power and intrigue within the cold walls of the Forbidden City shaped Li Lianying's complex life? And will the mysteries surrounding his death ever be revealed? What do you think about this story? Which hypothesis seems most plausible to you? Share your thoughts in the comments if you have insights into the secrets of this extraordinary tomb. The 1,400-year-old tomb of the tyrant emperor of the Sui dynasty, China. Nearly 1,400 years ago, there was a Chinese emperor whose life made the entire empire tremble with fear and anticipation. Yet, after his death, his resting place lay silent beneath the ground for centuries. Only now has it finally revealed itself. What makes this discovery even more intriguing is that the tomb isn't tucked away in towering mountains or a royal restricted zone. Instead, it appeared right next to a construction site in Yangzhou, Jiangsu province, a reminder of how history loves to tease the modern world. This is the tomb of Emperor Yang of Sui, the second and last emperor of the Sui dynasty. The name Yang Guang is notorious in historical records. He is ranked among the infamous tyrants of imperial China. During his reign, he wielded power ruthlessly, issuing decrees like thunderbolts. Yet his end was bitter. He was killed during a military revolt in 618 CE, which led to the complete collapse of the Sui dynasty. So why is the tomb of such a notorious emperor surprisingly modest, given the grandeur of his life. Experts suggest that the tomb covers only about 215 square feet, significantly smaller than the mausoleums of many other emperors. At first glance, it might seem ironic. A man who shook the empire in life ends up in a surprisingly humble final abode. Yet this modest size is what has allowed the tomb to remain relatively intact over the centuries, suffering little damage from time or human interference. Adjacent to Emperor Yang's tomb, archaeologists also discovered the tomb of Empress Xiao, his consort during the final years of the dynasty. The two tombs were built side by side, a quiet testament that, regardless of history's judgment, he would not be alone in the afterlife. Excavations of Empress Xiao's tomb revealed numerous royal items, from decorative objects to artifacts rich in Sui dynasty cultural symbolism. One of the most important clues confirming the identity of the tomb's occupant is a stone stele in the southern corner, engraved with the emperor's name and his death year, 618 CE, perfectly matching historical records. This serves as a kind of historical signature, settling any disputes about who truly rests beneath Yangzhou. The artifacts themselves have also excited researchers. Exquisitely crafted ceramic statues from Empress Xiao's tomb and bronze door handles shaped like dragon heads from Emperor Yang's tomb are remarkably well preserved. These items not only showcase exquisite artistry, but also reflect the aesthetics, beliefs, and authority of the imperial court at the time. Just looking at a dragon head door handle, one can almost imagine the imperial grandeur of centuries past, even if it now sits quietly in a display case. Thus, the story of Emperor Yang's tomb feels like a slice of history laced with irony. A notorious tyrant, a short-lived dynasty, and a small tomb that slept undisturbed for nearly 1,400 years. History sometimes needs no commentary. These discoveries beneath the earth are enough to make us pause, reflect, and even smile at the unpredictable rise and fall of power and human fate. 3,000-year-old tomb reveals a distorted bronze hand. When people think of archaeology, they often imagine precious artifacts, dust-covered stone steles, or towering tombs that bear the marks of ancient civilizations. But sometimes, excavations are more than a journey into the past. They are like peeling back the pages of an untold story, one that is tragic, strange, and haunting. The excavation in Anyang, Henan Province, China, in December 2000 is a striking example of this. Beneath the arid soil of what was once a glorious capital during the Qing dynasty, archaeologists unearthed a 3,000-year-old tomb. At first glance, the tomb appeared typical, large in scale, structurally sturdy, and containing hundreds of artifacts. Yet inside, researchers encountered one of the most unusual discoveries of their careers: a bronze right hand, distorted, cold, and meticulously crafted down to the finest details. This hand was far more than a mere work of art. Measuring 5.2 inches in length and 2.7 inches in width, it was hollow inside and attached to a wooden handle that had mostly decayed over time. Its surface was engraved with intricate patterns, animal faces, eyes, but notably, there were no decorations on the fingers themselves. This detail puzzled many experts. Why design it this way? What purpose did it serve? Why was it created at all? The first hypothesis suggested it might be decorative, but given its size and painstaking detail, using it purely for display seemed too simple. Others speculated it could have been an ancient scoop for food, or even an unusually crafted backscratcher. Plausible theories, yet unconvincing. Clues became clearer when archaeologists discovered the tomb's occupant. Buried beneath the cold earth was a military general named Zhang, who had served under Emperor Wu Ding, the 22nd ruler of the Qing dynasty. Historical records described Zhang as a legendary warrior, renowned on the battlefield for numerous victories. However, during a fierce battle, he lost his right arm entirely. This fact unlocked the mystery of the bronze hand. It was neither a decorative object nor a weapon. It was a sacred prosthetic, a replacement for a missing part of his body, crafted by soldiers under Zhang's command to honor their general after his death. This ritual was both a touching tribute and deeply spiritual. In the worldview of the ancients, death was not an end, and the body needed to remain whole when entering the afterlife. Thus, the bronze hand was the final promise kept by the soldiers to the commander they most revered, ensuring his body remained complete for eternity. Ancient tomb containing vampires and mysterious liquids in Poland. In 2013, an excavation in Gluist, Poland, uncovered an ancient cemetery that revealed chilling mysteries about the burial customs of people in the past. Construction workers accidentally discovered graves containing human remains buried in extremely unusual positions. These bodies were not laid out in a normal posture. Instead, the skulls were placed between the knees, a burial practice unlike any other known ritual. Dating analysis showed that these individuals died around the 15th to 16th centuries, a time when fear of supernatural beings, especially vampires, ran rampant in the minds of Europeans. Jacek Pierzak, an archaeologist involved in the excavation, explained, "This burial method was not a mistake. It was a deliberate way to prevent the dead from rising from their graves and becoming vampires that could harm the living. These graves likely belonged to people suspected of being vampires, blood-drinking monsters that terrified medieval Poles. To prevent them from coming back, the bodies were decapitated and buried in a gruesome manner." In addition, in 2018, another archaeological discovery captured attention in Alexandria, Egypt. Experts found a black granite coffin inside an ancient tomb, immediately sparking rumors of a deadly curse. Some feared that opening the coffin might awaken the curse and trigger disastrous events. Nevertheless, archaeologists opened it and discovered 3 skeletons immersed in a mysterious red liquid. While tests confirmed that these individuals lived in the region after 332 BCE, the enigma of the red liquid sparked curiosity among thousands. On Change.org, over 1,500 people signed a petition requesting to sample the liquid, believing it might grant powers from the dead. Experts, however, warned that consuming the liquid could be extremely dangerous. Beyond having no supernatural effects, drinking it could expose someone to infectious diseases, bacteria, or viruses. Related to these discoveries, archaeologists also uncovered the tomb of King Suthis III, ruler of the Odrysian kingdom in Thrace during the 4th century BCE. His burial mound stood 66 feet high with a diameter of approximately 295 feet. Many valuable grave goods were found, including a golden crown, gold cups, weapons, shields, and a bronze sculpture depicting the king. This discovery highlighted the luxury and power of ancient rulers. These archaeological findings not only provide insight into the customs and beliefs of past civilizations, but also invite us to ponder the mysterious secrets still hidden beneath the earth. Excavations like these continue to unveil captivating stories of long-lost cultures, taking us back to a time when life and death were shrouded in terrifying legends. The 4.45 acres ancient tomb of the talented strategist from the Jia clan, China. In a peaceful rural area of Tongdun Village, Changzhou City, Jiangsu Province, China, locals have for generations shared stories about a peculiar pond called Botang Pond. The name sounds simple enough, but beneath its calm surface lies a story so eerie it sends chills down the spine. According to Mr. Zhang Renliang, now over 70 years old, he heard from his grandfather about a mound rising from the middle of the pond. Strangely, even during scorching droughts lasting 3 months, when all the surrounding rivers and lakes dried up, Botang Pond never ran dry. The mound stood tall amid the water, as if guarding a secret that had lasted 1,000 years. For decades, no one ever saw the pond dry up. Villagers speculated, perhaps there was an underground spring? Or maybe an ancient tomb had been buried there long ago. It wasn't until 1980, when the Northport Brick and Tile Factory project began, that workers decided to drain the pond for inspection. That was the moment one of the most shocking archaeological discoveries in Jiangsu Province was revealed. Once the mud at the bottom was cleared, fragments of ancient relics emerged: ceramics, coins, and intricately crafted objects in the style of the Three Kingdoms period. Villagers immediately alerted the authorities, and a professional archaeological team was sent in. Using modern equipment, they drained the pond completely and were met with a jade block engraved with 4 characters: Jia Ge Zi Du. The team was stunned, because Zi Du was the courtesy name of Jia Ge Jin, the elder brother of the legendary strategist Jia Shu, better known in Western literature as Zhu Zhiliang's brother. It turned out that the mound in Botang Pond was the tomb of Jia Ge Jin, who had served as Grand General, Left Governor, and Inspector of Yuzhou under the Eastern Wu dynasty. The tomb covers a vast area of roughly 4.5 acres, rising 13 to 16 feet above the pond bed and just 3 feet above the water surface. During excavation, archaeologists discovered simple burial items such as jade ornaments, jade figurines, bronze mirrors, ancient coins, and pottery. These items reflected Jiage Jin's character, modest, virtuous, and indifferent to wealth or luxury. Before his death, he instructed his family to bury him plainly, using common clothing for the shroud and avoiding any ostentation. Though his role in the historical novel Romance of the Three Kingdoms is overshadowed by his more famous brother, history records Jiage Jin as a brilliant and trusted strategist, often consulted by Sun Quan on matters of state. He was a key figure in strengthening Eastern Wu during the Three Kingdoms period. After his death in 241 CE, he was 68 years old. His tomb lay undisturbed beneath the pond for nearly 2 millennia until its accidental discovery at the end of the 20th century. Later, when the brick factory was dismantled, the tomb came under the management of Changzhou Shenma Pharmaceutical Company. In 2002, the authorities restored the tomb with funding exceeding 100,000 yuan. Yet what intrigues people even more is that, according to locals, many other tombs of the Jia clan, prominent figures yet to be excavated, remain in the area. Could it be that beneath the earth still lie secrets untouched by human hands? Perhaps every ripple on the pond's surface today is a whisper from the past, calling us to explore this forgotten chapter of history. And so, our journey exploring the 12 most mysterious ancient tombs in history comes to a close. Each story, each discovery not only sends chills down the spine, but also raises countless unanswered questions. Are these mysteries the result of timeless ancient wisdom, or are there still things modern science has yet to reach? Whatever the answer may be, one thing is clear: this world still holds countless wonders waiting to be discovered. And who knows, perhaps in the future, you or someone else will be the one to unlock secrets that once seemed impossible. I truly believe that. For now, this marks the end of today's video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss our next thrilling journey of exploration. Goodbye, and see you next time.